I believe it was a day ago, Xbox president was having I will call it an interview or president. Nah, yeah, I will call it interview. Honestly, the interviewer asked some really good questions. She was mostly addressing the issue with shutting down some of the studios, including Tango, where they made something really successful like Hi-Fi Rush and Evil Within, and the reason why the studio was shut down basically by Microsoft, and also addressing some of the other topics such as AI, the use of AI, and probably the future projection of console gaming in general, console and PC gaming actually. In terms of the studio shutdowns, I think she probably gave the best purple answer that she can give in a situation like that, while addressing to investors. I think she did the best she could. I think she delivered the message across even to non-investors or just gamers in general. Basically, from what I'm getting is that the success measure for the general public is not the same as the company, which is true, right? As a public trading company, there's a certain obligation to the market, to the investors, and investor are you look at your quarterly earnings, your year-to-year returns, and then you decide where you put your money is, and that's pretty much the normal. That's pretty normal for investing, and you gotta do your research, and you gotta you want to see your growth, right? You don't want to invest to something that it's not gonna grow, and of course, growth have a limit. You can't expect like a 10% growth every single year, even though I would say that's a typical projection of of the general market right now. If you look at if you look at some of the index funds and stuff like that, it's typical. So that's what Microsoft is doing right now, and of course, and that just means that you have to cut costs somewhere, and the growth of certain studios just doesn't align with what Microsoft is looking for in a way, right? And it could be multiple reasons, and we can't know the books for sure. So I can only assume that, okay, even though Hi-Fi Rush, I mean, Hi-Fi Rush is not really like expensive game to purchase, and even though the numbers are great, but we don't know what's the actual cost to maintain the studio. There are also a lot of other behind the scenes stuff. For example, while they are producing Hi-Fi Rush, they might be at the same time producing another game, right? Another IP, and a lot of costs could cut into that. Well, Hi-Fi Rush might seem successful for one single game, but it's not sustainable for the studio and for maintaining their other IPs or some sort of IP in development. And Microsoft could see that as a potential, potential, not really a threat. I would just say a potential liability, right? And it's most likely that they would just have to cut it off. And which just makes sense, right? If I'm the company, I will probably do the same. Even though it's a shame that they are a good studio. They are a good studio with a good name and then good titles under the belt. But the thing is that we don't know. It just that there's a lot of things that we don't know, and Microsoft probably knows more behind the scenes than we do. And I believe the Xbox president, she gave the best answer she could give, which is, it just means that even though the game was popular and profitable, quote unquote profitable, but it just doesn't align with the projection Microsoft has given to them. I would say that's the best way to put it. And of course, she put it in a very corporal way. It probably just, what did she say? She's saying something about doesn't align. I don't know. I don't remember anymore. I'll rewatch it and take a look at it again. But I think that was the gist. That was pretty much the gist of it. Right? It just means that they made money, but just not enough money. cut it in short. That's basically what happens. It's a shame, really. It really is a shame. It's just that that's how kind of a public traded company kind of works these days, and you have to appeal to investors, and that's just what happens. And she also talked about the use of AI and AI technology and stuff like that, which is I can see why. I mean, honestly, I wish I can like do maybe like more of a real time, just react while talking about it while she was talking about this whole thing, but that's not something I would do here. But I think she talked about the use of AI, which is fine, right? I think there's like certain aspect of AI that should be used in gaming. That's for sure. There's a lot of good AI tools that help speed up developers. Let's, for example, Copilot. Copilot's it's a really good tool. It's a good tool. It's not perfect, but it's a really good tool. It really helps, right? Especially in terms of especially like a really common script. For example, Python scripting is very good with Copilot. I think Unity too. Unity, if you're doing C# and stuff like, and doing any C# work, Copilot is also pretty good. It's pretty reliable, and that can speed up the entire development process. And she also talked about velocity, right? Which is, in a project management perspective, it just means that how much work you can do in a given time. That's pretty much what that cut down into. So basically, every developer have a point system. For example, I can do 40 points of work in a week or in a sprint, and someone else can do maybe 30. And AI tools can maybe bring my number up to 50 or 60 points of work in a single sprint, and that just speed up. I probably speed up like development process by 50%. Because there's a lot of like tedious things you have to do in coding that can really shorten it by using AI tools itself. And I don't think devs have a lot of issues with it in terms of using tools to develop programs, but there are issues of using AI to replace devs. I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of like people are concerned about, that their jobs are replaceable, even devs, especially devs actually. Let's say if I'm doing 40% of work, and someone else is doing like maybe 40%, and let's say I'm doing 40 points of work in a sprint. Someone else is doing 40 points of work in a sprint, right? And that can keep like a pretty steady velocity for the whole company in terms of development cycle goes. And because you don't want to release like everything too fast, because and that would it's just annoying to the customers. Like imagine having like a game update every single day. How does that even feel? Pretty annoying, right? Every time you like every next day you have to update the whole game again. You have to download content. That's also annoying. So in a way, you kind of want to keep the velocity at a reasonable state. Except like during prototyping, when the product's not public yet, that you can speed it up just so that you can get through the testing phases, and then you push a product out and then do more testing, and then you go through everything. But in terms of like a release product, then yeah, you want to kind of keep like a steady state. It's mostly for the health of the game too, unless there's some major changes and features that you might want to do like bug fixes. But anyway, so if with AI tools that a single dev can do 80 points of work, then there's no point keeping 2 devs and paying them, right? So I think that's what people are afraid of, that their jobs are replaceable by AI, and which is I mean, honestly, is understandable. I don't think there's a way to stop it, because it's already there. For honestly, AI tools has been out for quite some time now, and it's only getting better and better and more integrated into everyday life. And that's the whole point of it. It's just that it's been integrating it to everything, to everyday life. It's just that now it's more apparent because we can actually see it due to AI art, where before it's more behind the scene. but now it's more of a, it's onto the forefront of things, and artists are worried too. Even though my friends, they are artists, and they're in the artist community, so in a way, honestly, my friends take on this is 50-50. They are concerning about the copyright issue of how AI was learning, but at the same time, they also appreciate using AI as a tool for concept art. For example, if they want to think about some sort of conceptual art and then a piece together for some certain animation, they can just use AI to do like a rough draft of things, and then they can see how that will fit into their concept, and then work on top of that idea and then work forward. I think that would be a pretty good idea. I think that would be probably a middle ground where everyone can agree to. There are certain things that, let's say, people generating like art using AI art and selling it. Well, that art was learned from another artist. Then that will get into like some sort of more moral gray area of what is that beneficial, like in terms of I'd say in terms of like a utility perspective, how beneficial would that be? How damaging would that be? But to me, I think it's unavoidable. Yeah, it's definitely unavoidable. It's already here. It's already been implemented. You know, there's already. I'm sure that there are game studios out there that's using AI art, at least in like the background portion, where it isn't like the main focus of the game, and that can really cut costs on the artist, and where artists can just need to do like the character designs and everything like that, but they can. There's a lot of other aspects of game development that can using AI instead, and I think that's what she's been saying too. And AI is just unavoidable, and it's gonna be a tool to be used, and honestly, it's gonna replace jobs. That's pretty much the end of it. I mean, that's and why not, right? Because it's gonna be a lot cheaper. It's gonna be a lot cheaper, and it's gonna be faster. And the company can cut a lot of costs and then appear better on their year to year, and it just is a non-brainer not to use it. And then that comes down to what happened to the people, what happened to the working class, and that's gonna be a tough. And I don't know the answer to that. And I think this third point, I would say the third main point of her whole interview was the future of console gaming and PC gaming in general. And she talk a lot on cloud gaming, which I agree. I actually do agree. That's pretty much the future of gaming. Same as AI. I think it's unavoidable. One thing, because here's the thing, right? Like so the world population is still growing at a pretty good state, but there's an issue. The population growth for developed countries has been stagnating for the past few years. So the total population, it's pretty plateaued, right? Yeah, like in certain countries like Japan, it's even decreasing. It's declining actually in terms of population. Like even a country like China, it's at a steady state, which means eventually we're gonna run out of customers, right? Like I wouldn't say China's like a developed country, but like in certain areas of China is developed more than the other. But the thing is that we are running out of people in developed countries. And you look at but the thing is, you look at areas in, let's say, India, Pakistan, and stuff, places like that. Their population are increasing pretty linearly year over year, which means that Microsoft, they have to have a certain way to capture these customers, in order to grow and in order to increase your financials. And in certain areas, it will be harder to get a gaming PC. And I think that's why the importance of cloud gaming comes in, where you don't have to worry about hardware requirements anymore. Even though console can do that, but still, it's just different, right? And that makes sense. That makes sense. So that the more people, in the end, it comes down to they need to sell more games to more people, and because of the but there also comes down the issue of networks, right? How it's like how much like internet connection gonna be a big factor, and I think that the next thing they're gonna push is gonna be internet for everyone, or some sort of cheap high-speed internet for the world. I think that's what Microsoft is going to be pushing in a lot of ways, and they have been pushing, I believe. A lot of like these social media companies probably already pushing like internet for everyone, so that they can have just more customers, more consumers on their end. I mean, depending on like whether that's good intention or bad intention, who knows, right? I mean, personally, I like more people online, that's for sure, because internet is a great invention, but there's also a lot of cons on internet, that's for sure. With that kind of, I would say, I wouldn't say power, I would say that with that kind of utility, it comes a lot of caution as well, right? And a lot of this requires better understanding of the world and better education, so that you kind of have to know how to navigate through all of this. And I don't know, it's like I don't know, I don't know how it will work, but in terms of Microsoft, they need to have more people playing games in order to develop like their gaming sector. And of course, and that cloud gaming, it's just one thing. That's cloud gaming is one thing. It's one piece of the puzzle in order to have more customers. And the second is the push for mobile gaming. Because mobile gaming is a huge market. It's a huge market in terms of mobile gaming. Because the phones are relatively cheaper compared to a gaming PC or console. And I would say that's more essential. It's like a more of an essential tool compared to anything else. And you have to keep pushing it. You have to keep pushing. That's why that's why you have to keep pushing mobile games, because they make a lot of money. Either it's like a normal gacha game or just some sort of any other game. Well, I mean, especially gacha games. Right, they make a lot of money. I mean, look at Genshin Impact, right? That's why they're doing this like PC mobile hybrid kind of game, because they makes a lot of money. And Candy Crush makes a huge ton of money for Blizzard. Well, Activation Blizzard, not just Blizzard. I mean, mostly Activation. And now Microsoft have it, and now it's theirs. I don't think Microsoft really cares about COD or any of those other IPs from Activation Blizzard. Like COD, World of Warcraft, all of that. I'm pretty sure like they just wanna, run them along on their own, do their own things. I'm pretty sure like Microsoft's focus is probably the mobile sector of what they did in terms of Candy Crush and some of the other mobile games. And it makes sense that they will try to focus in that area, and how to appear to be growing year after year. Yeah, I think that's what happened. So in conclusion, it's all about money. In the end, it's just about money. It's just that how to be more profitable year after year. And that's pretty much it. In terms of the interview, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. The interviewer asked them really good questions in terms of what players needs to know. And I hope majority of the players understood what she was talking about, even though she appeared very corporal, and because she is corporal, right? She's representing not just Xbox, she's representing Microsoft. She's just representing Microsoft. So it's gonna be a corporate talk, but I think she answered in the best way she could to the public, and in terms of what happened and what's going to happen, and what's Microsoft future in terms of gaming. I think she did a pretty good job. I'm not sure like how much we can look forward to. I'm not sure if this is the exact future that gamers wanted, but I think this is the kind of a thing that Microsoft it's leaning towards. So overall, pretty good, pretty good. I can't really fault her for anything. I think she said something. She did a good job. I applaud her to that.